A Christmas Story, you know that one about the little boy who wants a Red Ryder BB gun?
Oh yeah. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we've been talking about Theme for a long time. That movie was set in the 50s, maybe even 40s, I'm not exactly sure, but, you know, it's still relevant today, and we'll talk about why. So, how many of you guys have heard of the Theme? Brett, you know, put thumbs up. I'm not going to call it, just want to see. A theme. All right, well, a theme is a life lesson, meaning, moral, or message about life or human nature that's communicated by literature. So in other words, theme is what the story teaches readers. So that's just kind of a quick definition for you. And a theme is often based around main ideas. But a main idea isn't exactly a theme in itself, and we'll talk about why in a second. But some of the most fundamental, universal main ideas we have in all of literature, we have stuff like acceptance, evil, revenge, forgiveness, grief, bravery. Who can think of a story whose main idea is one of those themes? Raise your hand if you want to be called on. What was it?
Hercules.
Yes, Hercules. That one, which one would that be about?
Bravery.
Exactly, bravery. Hercules is about bravery. And we got a lot of stuff about revenge. When you guys start reading Shakespeare,
Carlos, Sam, sit up and pay attention.
You know, we got nothing but revenge in Shakespeare. But like I said, a main idea isn't exactly a theme. That's just kind of a good place to start. And remember what I said about the definition earlier, that it's a message. So one word, you know, can't be a message. Like if I just said love, it's like, well, I don't really know what that means. You know, so I'd have to expand it into a message. And so a good way to kind of show you that is to talk about Little Red Riding Hood. And a main idea in that is deception, or, you know, tricks, and usually dirty tricks. Deception isn't, a good thing. And if we were going to expand that one word into a message or a theme, you might say something like the innocent or vulnerable to deception. And that just kind of means that innocent people that aren't very experienced or kind of naive, it's pretty easy to trick them. Have you guys ever tricked your younger brother or sister?
Yep. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
is it easy or is it hard?
It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, you shouldn't do that if possible, because someone might write a story about you and it wouldn't be so good. So let's quiet it down. All right. So with the Three Little Pigs, what do you think is a main idea? Just like one word that you would use to say the main idea of the Three Little Pigs. That's a character. That's close. But what's the main idea? Yes.
Cleverness.
Right. Say cleverness. Definitely. So if we were going to use cleverness as the main idea, how could we expand that to be more specific to the Three Little Pigs?
You don't need to be big or strong.
Exactly. You don't need to be big or strong to be clever. That's a great theme for the Three Little Pigs, because we had these little pigs building their houses, and you had this big bad wolf trying to eat them, but they weren't strong. They were just smart. They were clever, and they were able to outsmart him. So very good, excellent. I'm going to pass this paper out to you so you can kind of follow along. Just take one and pass it on. But this is kind of how we find a theme, just breaking it down for you. So the first thing I like to do is I examine the title, and when I look at the title, that kind of gives me a first impression. What is this going to be about? It doesn't tell me everything, but it kind of gives me something to work off of. And then I try to think about who is the speaker, who's the main character in the story, what's the situation they're in, and how do they feel about the subject. So how did the Three Little Pigs feel about the wolf? exactly he was big and bad. So they didn't feel too good about him. And then we've been talking a lot about figurative language, and just from grading your papers, I can tell you guys have got it down really well. And so lots of times when you look at the figurative language, I really like the example here. In terms of metaphor or simile, a relationship compared to a freshly picked apple is very different from a relationship compared to a cut of bloody meat.
Cade.
Um,
Come in now.
So, you know, if I said that, you know, my romance was like a cut of bloody meat, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Yeah. As opposed to like a fresh spring day, you know, that would be a little bit better, a little bit more flattering. So don't tell your girlfriend our romance is like a cut of bloody meat, because she might slap you. And then look for patterns. I can't stress that enough. Whenever you're doing any kind of analysis, just always look for patterns. And that can include some of this, some of the word choice, some of the figurative language, just looking at phrases or ideas or themes that come up a lot. And then I would put a star next to number 5 or circle it or something, because this is the most important. And just like we talked about earlier, determine the main idea and then expand it. You use all this stuff to help you determine the main idea, and then you try to expand it into a message. And so we're going to have a little bit of practice with this. All right, how many here know Taylor Swift? It's your spirit song. Well, I think it was a 9th grade spirit song, but not quite
Love
your
Story?
game. Yep, Love Story.
I'm keep recording this.